Hello and welcome to episode 7 of the Carvecast. So we are back for another episode. Now this episode is going to be slightly different again because in this episode it's only me. So unfortunately you guys are going to have to put up with just me throughout the whole entire episode. So I hope you can hang in there and enjoy it just as much as when we have some guests. On that note, if any of my ski friends or anyone that's listening that's really into skiing, that's got something to add, would like to come onto the podcast, just drop me a message and that would be great. In the last episode, we had James, who's the managing director of the ski exchange shop in Cambridge, which I've been to and bought skis from and various other things. And it really is a great shop. And James is such a great guy. He's super passionate, super knowledgeable when it comes to all things skiing. You can imagine over the last 20 years, the kind of information that he's built up in his brain. So huge thank you to James. If you haven't listened to that episode, head back, that was episode 6, and give that a listen, because anyone who's like a gear geek like me is going to really enjoy that episode. And we also talk about part of my upcoming trip, which is on one of the days that I'm away, leaving in 13 days, which I'm extremely happy about. I'm actually going to head down to Pila and be part of the ski test, which is a consumer ski test. So it's not just for shops and retailers and professionals. It's for absolutely everyone like you and me to go along to and test as many skis as you want from all of the brands, including even my favourite, and I've just put my finger over the wrong shoulder. So those that are on the podcast app hopefully won't see that. Pointing to my Stockli skis, even Stockli will be there, which is quite unusual. So that's really interesting. Now, let's get into some of the segments that we go through every single week. Now, first of all, personal skiing update. Now, normally when I'm between trips, I've been going to Hemel Hempstead regularly, usually on a Sunday morning. But since I've been back from my last trip, which to be fair was only 2 weeks ago, I haven't been skiing at all. So I'm really missing it. And every day I'm looking at the weather for the next couple of weeks. I'm looking at my countdown app, where it gives you a countdown of all of the different days that you're going to have to go through before you get to go skiing again. And yeah, just really kind of getting excited about my next trip. And for a little while, I'm just going to talk about what I'm going to be doing on that trip, just to break it down just a little bit, because I've got a little bit more detail about how I'm going to do it. So on the 9th of March, I think it is, or maybe the 8th, I leave and I'll head down to the Alps. Usually what I do is I stop at my parents' house in Champagne in France, because it's quite literally halfway there. So you jump on the Eurotunnel, it's about a 4 or 5 hour drive to my mum and dad's house in Champagne, stop there overnight, get yourself ready for the next day, and then the next day is 4 or 5 hours to drive down into pretty much anywhere in the Alps, in that sort of first region that you come to, just past sort of Grenoble that way. So when I get there, the first place that I'm actually going to is Le Géts. So on the 9th of March and the 10th of March, I'm going to be in Le Géts and maybe do a bit of skiing in Morzine as well. And these are all subject to change, by the way, because I'm going to be studying the weather, looking where the best snow is going to be, obviously working out my travel times, and I'm going to be kind of basing it upon that. But this is my schedule so far. So after Le Géts, which by the way I called Les Géts for quite a long period of time, so apologies to the French for my pronunciation. Then from there, the 11th and the 12th of March, I'm going to be heading to Val d'Isère and Teens, and hopefully doing maybe a day in each. So, but again, I'll see how I get on, and maybe I'll do 2 days in Val d'Isère. I don't know yet. I'll have to wait and see. But Val d'Isère is kind of my priority, although I would like to do a little bit of Teens as well. And the way that this is going to work, I've booked a apartment in Bride-les-Bains, which is right at the very bottom of the Three Valleys. That area I found is quite a good kind of hub area to be able to get out to the various resorts. So places like Val d'Isère and Teens, they're less than an hour, quite considerably less than an hour from Bride-les-Bains. Les Arcs and La Plagne, where I'm going to be heading to on the 13th of March, even though I've just come back from there for a week, I would like to do it again on my own. That is only about 35 minutes away from Bride-le-Ban. The 14th of March, which I think is a Friday, hopefully that's going to be the day that I head over to Pila. However, Stockli are only at the ski show for I think 3 days. So depending on what days they're there, I'm going to align my visit with that. So these might have to change. And then we come on to the 15th of March. I'm probably going to head over to Saint-Foy. Now, Saint-Foy is a less heard of resort, and I wouldn't have heard of it at all had I not been watching a lady on YouTube called Free Flow Floss. So she does a weekly snow report from the Tarentaise Valley, which includes Teens, Val d'Isère, Les Arcs, all around there, and she's mainly based in Teens, I think. She did this little episode on Saint-Foy, which is a very small ski resort. I'm guessing, I don't know, I haven't looked this up, but I'm guessing about 50 kilometres in total, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, but nothing near the size of places like Les Arcs. And she did this episode on it, and it just looked absolutely stunning. And most of all, which I like, good snow and quiet. So when Jade and I headed over to Les Arcs last time, we stopped at Saint-Foy for one day, and we were absolutely blown away by what a beautiful little resort it was. And it's great money, value for money as well. I think the day pass there was just slightly less than 40 euros, which is obviously significantly cheaper than most of the other places. So if you're ever around that way, I highly recommend having a visit to Saint-Foy. I don't know if it's somewhere you'd want to spend like 6 days skiing at, because it is, on the smaller side. However, 3 days, definitely. What a beautiful place. Absolutely stunning. And I will do maybe a bit more of a detailed episode on Saint-Foy, because I'd really like to sort of promote that, because I enjoyed it so much. I think everyone else would as well. And such a different environment, such a different feel outside of those large ski resorts. Then I think on the 16th of March, I've got a bit of a free day, but I think I might go to Courchevel, even though I'm spending a whole 6 days skiing the Three Valleys just a couple of days later when my friends arrive. I think I'm just going to have a day on my own in Courchevel, because I love skiing Courchevel. 17th of March, I'm going to go back to Val d'Isère and do another day in Val d'Isère. And then on the 18th, all of my friends are flying over, and we are going to have 6 days skiing in the Three Valleys. So we will definitely be going all the way across Méribel, Les Memoirs, Courchevel, Orel, Val Thorens. We're going to do the whole lot, top to bottom. It's going to be the second time we've done it. We did it last year for the first time ever. And this time I'm hoping, because we've all improved and we can do more advanced runs now, we can do anything really on the mountain. We're going to really enjoy it on a whole nother level to what we did last time. And actually that visit last time was probably my favourite ever ski trip. So super excited about that. That's my kind of plans for my entire trip when I leave in 13 days. So yeah, it's kind of the only thing that's going through my mind at the moment. I'm obsessed with what I'm going to do, what I'm going to take, where I'm going to go, and I'm super excited. And hopefully you guys can follow me along on that journey. If you want to watch sort of in-depth little details and day-to-day updates, follow me on Instagram at Mr. Tybox123. Slightly less updates on TikTok at Mr. Tybox, but there will still be updates on there. But yeah, if you want to see like the sort of more day-to-day stuff, Instagram is where I do most of my oversharing. So yeah, have a look on there. Now, back to the segments. That was my ski update. New gear releases and reviews. I didn't look too much into it, but I saw online that Head have bought out this ski. I don't know if the ski's called Renew or if it's just the scheme, but it looks like basically you buy a scheme from them and every so often you can hand it back in and get a replacement, in the aim of trying to reduce waste and obviously being better for the environment. So that looked quite interesting. I didn't really look into it enough, but that might be something that you guys want to have a little look into. Now later on this podcast, I'm going to do a fairly in-depth discussion around goggles. And I know we did a little introduction to goggles on a few episodes ago, but on this one I'm going to really go deep on the Smith 4D mags and also the Oakley Line Minor Pros with the removable goggles. I've used both now for Well, the Smiths I've been using for the whole season, but the Oakleys I used for 9 days skiing when I was away just a little while ago. So I feel like I've got quite a good bit of feedback to give on those. And with my Smiths as well, long story, but I ended up with 2 pairs. But let's not go into that on this episode. We'll talk about that a little bit later. I've got a significant amount of lenses for the Smiths, and it's quite interesting to talk about how they all perform. So I will break those out and we'll have a talk through those as well. Industry news and trends. I don't really have any industry news or anything like that, but have been looking at the weather, which I do every single morning when I wake up. Even if I have no ski trip planned, I still like to see what the weather is over in the Alps. And at the moment, they've had this period of high pressure for, I think, about 10 days, whereby it's just been basically bluebirds every single day. And obviously, you've had the busiest week of the year with the half term. So I'm guessing the pistes are getting pretty hard packed and pretty icy over the whole of Europe. I'm sure there's places you can find that are less so, but they really are in desperate need for some snow. And looking at the weather over the next few days, even though they're having some low pressure moving in and there's going to have a bit of cloudiness and a little bit of snow, it's not like quite often the dumps that you get 30, 40, 50 centimetres. It's only, I think, in total around 10, 15, 20 centimetres, depending on where you are. But hopefully that will refresh the pistes, and hopefully for those that enjoy off-piste will hopefully give that a little bit of a refresh as well, although it doesn't look like it's going to be particularly a huge amount. So this week, Destination Spotlight is not going to be one location. In this episode, I'm going to be talking specifically about out of season skiing, which I have got a fair bit of experience with, even though I've only been skiing for just over a year. I actually did a lot of out of season skiing last year, and I think I've got quite a lot to offer in terms of trying to help you guys and myself get through the misery that is the out of season. So Destination Spotlight, let's get into it. As soon as you get to essentially April and May, really at the very latest, for places like Hintertux and Zermatt, and there are obviously a few more that have glacier skiing, Saint-Foy maybe, Kitzsteinhorn, various places like that. Really, skiing kind of comes to a halt, mid-April, end of April, early May at the very most for those resorts that I just spoke about and a few more. And then we have this huge 6-month wait before we get back round to sort of November, December, when some places do start to open their doors a little bit more. Again, places like Zermatt specifically, which I've got a lot of experience with because I was there in November, December last year. So let's start from the top, what I did last year when the ski season ended. Now, when it got to the end of May, which is my birthday, right at the very end of May, I was going to just go to my parents' house in France and just have a week there, and we spend a week going around doing various sort of touristy type activities, visiting various places, and I take the electric scooters over there and we drive them around, and it's a great trip. But actually, when it got to the time, Zermatt still had sensational snow right the way down to the Fergsattel area, and in addition to that, it also had snow all the way down to Plan Maison on the Chevinia side. So that's a huge skiing area that's still available literally in the very last few days of May up into the first few days of June. I can't imagine that's going to be the case this year because the snow has not been anywhere near as good this year as it was last year in Zermatt in terms of the depths and the base and everything else. So that, I'm guessing, won't be feasible. However, you could still go to Zermatt throughout the entire year, and I think Zermatt might be the only one that quite literally never closes, although do correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sure there's probably a couple of others, but Saint-Foy, I think that closes for a little while, maybe a month or two. Teens, that closes for a little while, maybe a month or two. But Zermatt is literally open all year round. And the ski area on the glacier right at the very top of Zermatt is actually quite a big, decent area. It's made up of T-bars because obviously it's a glacier. So I think because it moves, they have to use T-bars. But it really is quite a good area up there, and the snow, because of the height of it at just around 4,000 meters, does stay quite good. Although as you get into the warmer months, probably anything from sort of June onwards, you're really looking to only really be skiing up until probably 1 o'clock, and then everything shuts. So you get booted off the mountain and the snow quality starts to deteriorate, and they want to keep the longevity in the snow, so they don't let you ski it for too long, and you probably wouldn't want to anyway. But that is one option. If you wanted to do that and you were lucky like me to have such a significant area open so late in the year, then you will have the absolute best time ever. We had, I'm not even joking, a 10-inch powder day on the 27th and 28th of May last year, just before June, across the whole mountain, skiing down into Italy. It was unreal. However, come sort of 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the day was done. You had to come off the mountain, and the tickets are more expensive in the summer months, not necessarily summer, but the out of season months, than they are in the winter, at around £90 or 90 Swiss francs, which is basically the same thing. So moving on from there, you're kind of running out of choices really. However, you've got your local snow domes. You know, we go to the one at Hemel Hempstead, but they're all over the country, and they're good, I think, for practicing and keeping up with your technique and exercise and drills, and obviously just having a little bit of fun and keeping your skiing going. But they are very limited, and they do tend to, although quieter in those out of season months, get busy still, especially the Hemel Hempstead one. And then you also have your dry slopes. So, you know, those are at least outdoor. However, the complexities of skiing on the dry slopes, obviously, to me, is extremely unpleasant. But you've got those options as well. Now, in addition to that, and my favourite option for those out of season months is Landgraf in Holland, Netherlands. I've spoken about this before, and let's go into a little bit more detail about it. So Landgraf is about, if you have a little stop on the way, 3 hours from Calais driving. You can fly there. I think you fly to, I can't remember where you fly to. I think it's Brussels, I think. I can't remember where you fly to, but anyway, I'm sure if you ask ChatGPT or Google, I'm sure it will tell you. There's an airport that's about an hour away, and you can fly into there and get a train down to Landgraf. We always drive because there's always, 4, 5, 6 of us. And yeah, 3 hours from Calais, you're in Landgraf, and the place is called Snow World. Now, in Snow World, it's not like the ones in the UK where it's just a building with a snow slope in it. The one in Landgraf has got 4 pistes, 2 of which are, I think, 500 meters plus, and they are significantly bigger than anything in the UK. When you go from the top to the bottom, it is actually feels like a decent run. It's not just over in 15, 20 seconds. So yeah, absolutely incredible place to go. Now, in addition to that, it's got a lot more things to do. There's an outdoor area, like a sort of Go Ape, which is really fun. They've got the outdoor toboggan as well, which is really fun. It's got a hotel built into it, and it's quite a cool hotel as well. Not expensive. The tickets to actually go ski in Landgraf all day long for 8, 9, 10 hours, literally from 8 in the morning till like 10 at night, is about, I think it's about 40 to 50 euros per person per day. Much, much better value. You'd pay that for literally 2 hours in Hemel Hempstead. So yeah, incredible value. The hotel is good value. And actually, if you want to increase your budget ever so slightly, there's a hotel that is only a 2-minute drive away called the Walserhof, I think it's called. And that hotel is stunning. It is absolutely beautiful. It's this really old-fashioned courtyard type building, beautiful, classy restaurants, incredible atmosphere, outdoor seating. It really is one of the nicest hotels I've ever been to. And actually, it's only the tiniest bit more expensive, if at all, than the hotel at Snow World itself. And they're all very good value. Like, we're talking less than €100 per night. So extremely good value. And that Walserhof is just one of the most nicest hotels I've ever been to. Absolutely incredible. Now, Snow World itself, they've also got, not on site, but very close by, they've got ice karting as well, which is part, I think, of the same company. So that's really fun to do. And inside you can book lessons by the hour. And I think they're about €50 per hour with an instructor. You can book obviously more than 1 hour if you want to. But yeah, one by one. And it also has a chairlift, which is unreal. So rather than having to sit on the pommer lift the whole way every single time and doing your calves in and various other areas, yeah, you can just jump on the chairlift and go up and down. It's faster, it's more comfortable, and just better to use. You can, if you want to, not use that and use the normal little pommer lifts, but yeah, that chairlift makes a huge difference. And it's such an incredible place to practice, because the actual incline itself, the gradient, is a really good one for practicing. It's less steep than, for example, the Hemel Hempstead slope, but definitely steep enough that you can really build up some speed, but not so steep that you can't practice carving and all your other things without struggling to sort of maintain some control. So I would highly recommend a trip to Landgraf. Normally what we do is we go on a weekday because it's quieter, although through the summer months it is dead in there. We've been there for days at a time and been the only people in there, which is incredible again. In the winter, it's a lot more busy, as are all of the sort of indoor snow venues. But yeah, in the summer, it is very quiet. One thing I will give you a little bit of advice: before you go, check on their website for maintenance on the slopes, because we've accidentally gone there before and not realised that one of the big slopes, for example, is shut because they're replacing and renewing all of the snow, which I think they do every 1 to 2 years. And then they do one slope, then they do another. And because you get the racers training there in the summer as well, one time we went and there was only one of the big slopes open, and even then only 2/3 of it was open to the public, because a third of it was shut off for the racers practicing. So do your investigation, have a good look on the website, check for maintenance, and definitely get yourself over to Landgraf. It's got a couple of nice little towns nearby as well. There's some great shopping nearby if you like going around ski shops like I do. There's an industrial estate nearby. Yeah, so it's a really great place to go. Loads of sports shops, loads of restaurants, and the actual Snow World place itself has a little nightclub inside it, which I think is only open in the winter months. There's actually a little hut restaurant on the slopes, which again, I think is only open on the winter months, but still really cool. And a restaurant that's open all year round, along with one of the best ski shops you'll ever go to, outside of the sensational Brundles in Kaprun, which is the most unreal shop I've ever been to in my life. If you ever get the chance to go there, head over there. That shop is out of this world. I can't even explain what a ridiculously huge, impressive shop that is. But anyway, we digress. So yeah, that's Landgraf. Now, the other options that you've got are only really going to come into place a little bit later in the season. So last year, it came around to October. And in October, you're going to find probably some of the glacier resorts are either opening their doors, maybe for after a little hiatus through the real warm months, or even some of the resorts around maybe Sweden and Finland might start to be opening up where it's that little bit colder. So you can look out for those places. Zermatt, like I said, is open all year, but it will mainly be the glacier. Sometimes they do open the Fergsattel run, which is an incredible dual red run that opens sometime in October, early November. But what I did last year, I went to the Kitzsteinhorn, which is part of Kaprun and Zell am See resorts in Austria. Now, the reason I even found out about this in the first place is because on YouTube and Facebook, Andy from Snow Camps Europe does regular updates. He does really good snow updates and weather updates, and he also does an incredible podcast as well. So if you, I can't remember the exact name of it, I think it's Inside Skiing or something like that, but basically if you search for Snow Camps Europe, you'll find Andy, you'll find his podcast, which he does weekly as well, and it's a really interesting podcast. Highly recommend it. I listen to it every week along with the weather updates. And having watched Andy throughout the sort of entire year last year, it got to October and I think he did a little weather update because they had a big dump of snow early on, and I thought, I'm gonna head over to Austria and give the Kitzsteinhorn a go. So contacted Andy, and he gave me such great information. But usually when you're trying to go on these trips and you've never been somewhere before, it's quite difficult to find really personalised information. Airports, travel, accommodation, tickets, how it all works, where you park, all these different things. Andy took the time out and broke all these things down for me, was very responsive on emails. And I booked a couple of days lessons in with Andy, really enjoyed it. Great teacher, great guy, very knowledgeable, especially about the area as well. He's been there for a long time. And yeah, what a great place to go to. The time when I was there, the snow was a bit messed up, so it sort of made it a little bit more complicated, and they maybe weren't putting the best effort into the pistes, but still a great experience. And actually, skiing in that environment where actually it was very difficult skiing, the wind and everything else, obviously improves your overall ability because you are having to deal with it, and it helps you to push on through. And if you can do better skiing in that kind of environment, I'm imagining it will make you even better when it's easy. So yeah, and in fact, the tip of the week that I'm going to give later when we talk about ski technique came from Andy on that time, which I've just remembered, and I'm going to add that in as one of the little technique tweaks that might be able to help out people who are in their earlier stages of their skiing journey. So yeah, Andy, Snow Camps Europe, check it out. Kitzsteinhorn, great skiing up there. Actually, the time that I was there, they actually started to open some extra slopes outside of the main part of the glacier with the T-bars. And I think what they do, in fact, I know what they do, is they store snow over the summer and they put blankets over it and they keep it. And then what I was watching was them digging all that snow out that had been stored and then putting it on the piste and getting this all up and running nice and early for people. So very, forward thinking from the Austrian resort there. And Kitzsteinhorn is, like I said, sort of part of 3 or 4 other resorts. It's the glacier element of 3 or 4 other resorts. So you've got Kitzsteinhorn at the very top, which is obviously the glacier area that you have to get a gondola up to. Easy to do. You just go up to the car park, get on a gondola, and up you go. And then you've got Kaprun, which is directly below it. And there's quite a sort of cute little town in Kaprun, a couple of nice restaurants and whatnot. And actually, if you want accommodation, Andy can even help you out with that as well. So talk to Andy if you ever want to go to any of these areas. And the area in Kaprun, I didn't get to ski because it was too early in the season. They didn't have any snow at that point. But then also there's Zell am See, which is about a 15-minute drive, I would say, from Kaprun. And wow, beautiful town based on a lake, absolutely stunning. Loads of nice restaurants, loads of nice hotels, beautiful. And I can only imagine how stunning that is actually in the winter when they've got snow, because when I was there it was very warm and it was more of like a sort of summer tourist day out. But yeah, great place. And then I think the other part of it, I think, is Saalbach, which is another small resort. I can't remember what Andy told me about the interconnectivity between all of these resorts. I think there's a little bit between Kaprun and Zell am See, but I don't think there is between anything else. But I could definitely be wrong, so do your own investigation around that. But this is more for out-of-season skiing, in which case none of those places, apart from the Kitzsteinhorn, would be open anyway. So yeah, that's kind of my rundown of out of season skiing. And once you do get to that October, November point, other glaciers and other areas are going to start opening up. There's actually a guy on YouTube called Chamonix Ski Bum, and he did a bit of an early tour around some of the Austrian glaciers in a sort of 5 or 6 part series. So if you get a chance, have a look at that. That's some other options as well. And like I said, Zermatt, Teens, Saint-Foy, quite a few of these places are going to have their glaciers open come October, November. And when I went to Zermatt last year, I arrived there on about the 25th of November, and quite a decent chunk of it was open. Although in reality, if you do want to go to Zermatt, I would personally recommend that you don't go there for a full-blown winter ski trip until January, because a lot of the slopes there don't open until maybe mid-December, like the Riffelberg area and various other bits, and even then some of the lower stuff isn't open. But come Jan, everything is pretty much open, I'm guessing most years. Pardon me. And you've got the entire ski area down into Cervinia as well, which is just absolutely mind-blowing. But that is my destination spotlight this week. Out of season skiing. I won't call it summer skiing because it's not necessarily summer, but those are kind of your options. If anyone's got any other information about that or any other experience, then please do leave a comment on YouTube or contact me. The details are in the show notes if you're just listening on the podcast. And now we are going to move on to gear talk, which is one of my favourite parts because I love ski gear. And even though a lot of people aren't into ski gear, they just like the skiing, I personally enjoy the ski gear. And at the end of the day, when it comes to anything, hobby, sport, whatever it might be, anything in your life, whatever puts a smile on your face, that's the best part of it. And gear puts a smile on my face. So first up, bit of a unique one, and I've got to reach over for this. But first up, we have got the North Face little ski booty shoes. Now, if you're watching this on YouTube, I'm holding these up to the camera. For those of you that are on podcast, I'm going to have to just kind of describe it to you. Now, these are little shoes. They've got like a sort of vinyl covering on them, like a polyester covering. They're completely fleece and very, very soft inside with a very rubbery base and an extremely soft insole. And these North Face ski booty shoes, whatever you want to call them, good value for money, absurdly comfortable. You could definitely use them as all year round slippers and be very, very happy. But what I use them for is whenever I'm staying in resort, I use them to do the journey from my room to the ski room, and then I leave these there, and then when I bring my boots back, I put these back on, leave my boots in the room, and I wear these back upstairs. And also I just wear them as kind of lounge shoes around the apartment or the hotel. Maybe the floors aren't the warmest, or you just want to have something on your feet. These are great for wearing down to breakfast in the morning, all that kind of thing. Really, really highly recommend these. North Face, really, really love these shoes. I think they're absolutely awesome, and I'm going to use them continuously for a very long time. Loads of other companies make them as well. I actually bought my dad a pair of Line ones. He doesn't ski, but he has a bad foot, so they're super warm, super soft, super comfortable. So I got those for him. But yeah, these North Face ones, great value for money. I actually got these as a Christmas present, so I don't know the price, but I'm thinking probably £50, something like that. Highly recommend. No problem with those whatsoever. Now, on to goggles. So, I did actually touch on this in the last podcast with James, but I am obsessive about having clean glasses and being able to see through things clearly. I don't like actually wearing anything over my eyes at all, but unfortunately, as I'm getting old, I have to sometimes wear these glasses. And in addition to that, obviously, when you're on the slopes, really, you should be wearing goggles, and I highly recommend that you do, because my friend Molly, who touched on it in her episode, actually got some pretty bad snow blindness when she didn't wear her goggles. So please do wear goggles. Now, for the entire season, the entire sort of year and a half that I've now been skiing, or just over a year, I've been using the Smith Mag 4D goggles. And actually, they've been so good that my wife now has the 4DS goggles, Holly has the 4DS goggles, Nicole has the 4DS goggles from Smith. They are a sensational goggle. Now, what is good about them? Let's take off the cover. So first of all, which I think is important, because I recently bought some head goggles that I think I spoke to you guys about, and they didn't come with any kind of case. They just came with a little bag, which I don't think is acceptable, especially at that £300 odd price point. The Smith goggles are expensive. They are around £300, but they do come with this hard case. And again, apologies for those who are on the podcast app. Obviously you can't see, but I am going to try and describe it. So they come in a hard case. It's got a breathable section, so if there's any moisture in there, that is going to be able to evaporate. They also come with a goggle sock as well, which I religiously have on my head in case someone scratches them or my ski touches them or something like that, and I like to leave that on all the time. So that's nice that it comes included with that, because the Oakleys don't, and neither do the head ones as well, but you do get that included with the Smiths, and it has got Smith written on the front of it for those that can't see. And then when you take that off, you reveal the goggles themselves. Now, the Smith goggles, these particular ones, and they do have a huge range, of which I'm sure the quality of all of them is very, very good. They are, from what I understand, the premium goggle maker in the world globally. The 4D mags specifically, I can't remember the exact technical terminology for it, but they're like a wraparound lens. So they not only curve left to right, but they also curve up and down. And the Smith ones uniquely have a really extreme curve at the bottom of the lens. Now, what that means is that when you've got them on, you don't necessarily have to look quite so far down to see down, because it does have this visibility that allows you to look downwards, whereas with more of a cylindrical type lens, you just wouldn't be able to do that. So that's one of the selling points for the Smith 4D mags. Now, in addition to that, it's got all of the usual stuff. It's got the silicone on the strap. It's got the triple layer foam. It's got the ventilation on the very top, which is going to aid with the ability to not mist. It's obviously got an anti-mist coating inside as well. And yeah, the build quality, you can tell just by touching them and holding them, is fantastic. Extremely good build quality. And wearing them, and I've worn these for, I don't even know how many days, but probably 30, 40, 50 days of total skiing, is incredible. They are extremely comfortable. They're the most comfortable one I've ever wore, and everything about them is absolutely top class. The only thing that I don't like a little bit is the strap system on the back is like a clip, and actually they sell it as a positive, because you can just quite easily clip them apart, which most other goggles don't have. However, if you don't use a Smith helmet, and the Smith helmet has a little strap at the back that is just like a soft banded material that goes over this quite easily, a lot of the helmets have a plastic gripper for the back of the goggle to clip onto the back of the helmet, and this clip doesn't sit in there very well. And actually on my wife's helmet, because she kept taking it in and out, it actually ended up breaking the clip on the back of her helmet, which was unfortunately not replaceable. So we had to get her a new helmet, although she was very happy about that. And even on her new helmet, I think she's got a gyro helmet. Again, it's like a firm plastic clip at the back, and this doesn't fit into that very well. Whereas on the Oakleys, for example, it's actually got just material, so that clips into the back of the helmet much more nicely. So what they're selling as a positive, I actually personally see as a negative. But anyway, we move. Now, the 4D mags have removable lenses. The system is okay. I don't love it, but it works well. Now, the way you do it is on the lower portion of the goggle, you just open up these two little clips right at the very bottom of the goggle, and then it's only then connected via magnets, and they're good strong magnets, and the goggles just clip on and off. When you put them back on, you just clip that back on. Now when you buy these goggles, they typically come, I've only ever bought the black ones and the grey ones, and again the story as to why I've got two I'll tell you on a later episode. It was very annoying, but anyway, I didn't get one for free unfortunately, like where they send the two out by accident. I actually ended up buying them. But with these, you, as with most goggles, same as the Oakleys, you get a lens for bright situations and bluebird days, and then you get a lens for less bright days, for more of those sort of white out cloudy days with that flat light. Now the lens that you get with the Smiths in the black or the grey, it was actually the same for both. It is this, it's like a purpley sort of, you know, quite transparent lens colour, and at the bottom it says 4D mag photo chroma pop. So actually I got that wrong. This one is an aftermarket one that I bought, still made by Smith, but this one is photochromic. So this one actually is not one you get included, although you can option it. It does increase the price, and this lens is more expensive than the others because it does have that photochromic built into it. Normally the one that you get included is not a photochromic lens, but it is of that purple colour, and that is your low light lens. Now on mine, the main lens that I got included, on one of them was this green colour, which I absolutely love. It's a mirrored green lens. This one is not photochromic. This one is just chroma pop, which is their lens technology to give you that really, really good clarity in all conditions. And the reason I love these is not only because they look fantastic, but the clarity is absolutely out of this world with this particular colour and this particular lens. And the thing I like about this one even more is, even though the light transmission on this is very low, i.e. it only lets in a very small amount of light, these actually work very well in flat light and in low light days, which I have no idea why. Maybe it's a combination of colours my eyes like or something like that, but they're not designed for low light. They're actually designed for really strong bluebird days, but they, for me, are the best lens that Smith do for all environments, and I'm really, really happy with them. Don't presume that it will be the same for you, because I do wonder with a lot of these lenses if actually certain colours are better for certain people in low light. So you want to try these yourself. But yeah, all in all, that is actually my favourite lens. The Chroma Pop photochromic lens is a great all-round lens. Because it's photochromic, it means the light transition that it lets in, it varies from, I think, something like 18% all the way up to about 38%. One thing I do find with these is, if you're on a chairlift and the sun is literally directly in your face and it's a bluebird day, these are not dark enough and you have to cover your face up with your hand. So even though it does cover you for all eventualities, they're not the best when it's super sunny. But what they are very good for is when it's flat light. That particular lens, that purpley photochromic lens, works incredibly. Now, like I say, long story, but I've ended up with lots and lots of different lenses. These are just a few of them. So let me go through some. First of all, we've got this lens is a red colour. It's a mirrored red lens with some sort of green and blue at the bottom. And this one as well is photochromic. So this particular lens has that variable light transmission, very similar to the purple one that I just showed you. However, I really wanted to love this lens because I love the colour of it. I think it looks great. And the variable light transmission that it's got on the photochromic is a great range. But I actually did not like this light lens or colour in flat or low light. So this is a red mirrored lens. I don't know the names. Apologies for those on the podcast, but it's like a very mirrored red colour. My favourite lens of all of them in terms of the look is this one. And this one, I'm holding it up to camera, but for those on podcast, this is a just pure blackout, almost like a tinted window on a car lens. This one is extremely dark, so this is literally for pure bluebird days only. And if it does get darker towards the end of the day, or you're going through areas in the shade with flat light, these will not perform well at all, unlike the green ones that I showed earlier. But these look fantastic with a completely blacked out look. The look through them as well gives you this just really nice colour, incredible sensational clarity. Really, really great lens. Love that lens, but only for very specific scenarios. Now this lens, the next one, 4D Mag Chroma Pop, so this is not photochromic. This one is a yellow based lens, and when you're looking at it from the front, it does look like almost like a bluey yellow, but actually when you look through it, it is pure yellow. Now most people say that a yellow lens is the best coloured lens for flat, low light, white out situations, and that is exactly what I bought it for. However, for me personally, and I do think that this is unique to each individual person, I did not like the yellow lens. It did not work for me at all, and I've only ever used it a couple of times, and I'm not sure I'll ever use that one again. It just doesn't work for me. A couple more lenses in here. This one is actually the one that you get included as a low light lens with the 4D mags. This is it's just a purpley bluey colour, and I'm guessing this lets through probably 35-40% of light, something like that. It's a good lens. It is a good lens, but this will not work well if there is even the remotest bit of sun, because you will get blinded in that, because the photochromic version of that colour, even that, which gets darker in bright light, is not enough for direct sunlight, so that one definitely won't be. Now this is a bit of a strange one, and people are going to say, why on earth have you got that? This is a completely transparent clear lens. Now it actually does block a little bit of UV and a little bit of brightness, because the VLT on this I think is about 90%. However, it's essentially a clear lens, and the reason I bought this clear lens is because when you go to Landgraf, sometimes they have the snow machines running during the day, and when they have those snow machines running during the day, as you go through it, you can't really dodge it because obviously it's an indoor area. It really gets in your face and in your eyes and kind of interrupts your run. So I got these mostly specifically for that, and also for a bit of an experiment, because I wondered on a real whiteout day or a real low light day, flat light day, whether these would be better than a coloured lens. Now let me tell you, this is a big reveal, because I actually found this quite interesting. These do not work better on a flat light or low light day than one that is got some colour to it. So don't think that just because the light is flat or the light is low, that having the highest level of light transmission through your lens will make it better to see, because it simply doesn't. I tried it in Zermatt on 2 days running when we had total and utter low light whiteouts, and I really struggled to see through these, whereas when I put on one of the dedicated low light lenses, I could see, not amazingly, because you can't ever see amazingly no matter what lens they are, but I could see better than I could with this clear lens. So yeah, and then the other, well, I know we've already done that one. So yeah, that's all my lenses that I've got with my Smith goggles. One of them's got the grey strap and one of them's got the black strap with the white writing. One thing that irritates me with all of these goggle brands is, from what I've seen, none of them really do one with no branding, or like black on black branding. Like, I don't, even though I'm a fan of the Smith brand, I don't want it in white writing. I want black on black. So the grey is probably the best option, because that is like grey and grey writing, and even though you can still see it, it's not quite as obvious. Obviously these things are purely for aesthetic reasons, and I am being a gear queen, but it is what it is. We like what we like. And now onto the Oakley Line Minor Pros. First of all, the Oakley Line Minor Pros are about over 100, I think about £100 less than the Smith goggles. Now, the Oakley Line Minor Pros, the real reason that I wanted to try these goggles is, again, on my hunt for clarity. Now, the Smith lenses and most goggle lenses are actually, if you kind of flex them a little bit, they're made up of 2 layers. So there's an outside layer and an inside layer, which basically gives them double glazing. And the idea of that is that it reduces fisting. Definitely doesn't reduce fisting. It reduces misting and fogging. Now, Oakley have just brought out these Line Minor Pros, which is their first truly replaceable lens goggle. They do other ones, but they're very difficult to change. These ones are very easy to change. You've just got these 2 little red buttons, you press them and the lens pops off, and it's all very easy. A better system, in my opinion, than the Smiths. Now, the reason I wanted to try these, and I don't think they look as good, and I don't think they even feel as good quality as the Smiths. However, the one thing they do have is on their Line Minor Pro lenses, they are just one single pane of lens, and they're relying on the coating technology to not allow them to mist or fog. So, less lenses, definitely more clarity, definitely less distortion technically, and actually when you use them, that rings true, very much so. And even in here, if I look up at a light through these lenses, there is absolutely no distortion. You don't see any light trails, there's no distortion at all. When I look with the Smiths, there is that little bit of distortion when you're looking at the light, which means that there's distortion in everything. And you can instantly tell when you put these Oakley Line Minor Pros on that the clarity of the lens is better than the Smith 4D mags. And to me, that is very important. And I think these goggles are for the money. And if you go to RX Sport, they're £40 less than they are in Oakley. So in Oakley, they're £259, and on RX Sport, they're £219. So that's quite a big saving. I think for £220 compared to like £340, I think they are roughly. This is much better value for money. I don't think they're as good. They don't look as good in my opinion. I like the rounded, top to bottom lens. They don't have that sort of view. They don't have that wide field view of range like the Smiths do. Still very good though, but just not as good. But the clarity of the lens is next level. So when you have a low light or flat light day, the low light lens that you get with the Oakley Line Minor Pros is a sensation. It really is just fantastic, and I would highly recommend these particular goggles to absolutely anyone, especially at this price range. Now they do come with obviously a more bright light lens as well. I'm holding them up to the camera. You've got that one, and then you've got that one. So one low light lens and one, more bright lens. And they're both very, very good. The clarity is insane on both of them. But I think specifically the low light, because of that single pane of lens, these give incredible clarity. One thing that I didn't like with the Oakleys is when you're wearing them, I felt very aware of the black nose arch inside the lens. Now when you're skiing, you kind of forget about that, but on occasion you do notice that, whereas with the Smiths you just can't see it at all unless you really go boss-eyed and look for it. And to me that is a big pro for the Smith goggles. But outside of that, they definitely win on the clarity, the Oakleys, definitely. That idea of just using a single pane lens is a winner, and well done to Oakley for doing something like that, because the clarity on these lenses is next level. They are so clear, so sharp, and yeah, overall so impressive. So that is my breakdown of the goggles. I know that was probably incredibly boring to listen to. Hopefully the people on YouTube got a bit of a better experience being able to actually see what I was talking about. However, hopefully it came across well. Don't forget, these are both high-end goggles. They're extremely expensive. They're both fantastic. But to me, they're the pros and cons of both of them. And hopefully that helps you make a decision, because when you're spending a bit more money on gear, you really want to get it right. So, next up, I know I've been saying this for the last few episodes, but someone has asked me a question about tech and skiing, and I promise you, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to get it all out, and I will cover that question for you. I've just got to pick the right moment and get everything out and prepared. And if anyone does have any questions, please leave them however you want to leave them in the YouTube comments, or get in contact with me, and hopefully I can answer any questions that you want answered on the next one. Again, thank you so much for all of the views, all of the listens. Believe it or not, even though we're only in the first 2 or 3 weeks of doing this podcast, in total across listens and YouTube views, the YouTube views are significantly less, but across all of it, we've hit over 8,000 individual views and listens. So really, really chuffed with that. Like I said at the very beginning of this, I'm not doing this to make it huge or anything like that, but hopefully it's nice that people are enjoying it, and hopefully you guys are. So in the next episode, I'm actually not sure what we're going to do. Hopefully, I'm hoping to do this sort of group one that I've been talking about with all of the girls, and we're going to do our big group Zermatt podcast, but we shall see. Have yourselves a fantastic week. Hopefully whatever you're doing, you're enjoying it. If you're skiing, I'm very jealous. I will be soon. Give me a follow on those social medias if you want to follow along, and I will see you all, or talk to you all, in the next episode. Bye.